Hello, students. Welcome to this class, and then we'll be discussing electrolysis. Electrolysis. Okay. I would want to ask, what do you understand by the term electrolysis? Electrolysis. Yes. You okay? Okay. Now we look at the process that's spring there. You're going to see a process, a chemical process. Is a process. It's a process that involves electricity. Without electricity, that process cannot go on, cannot occur. So one thing you must know about electrolysis is that electrolysis is a non-spontaneous reaction. It's a reaction that ordinarily on its own cannot happen. It needs something that will trigger the reaction to go on. So when you're defining electrolysis, you must put a process. There is a process. Look at what you have on the board. That's electrolytic cell diagram. You find out that you have a beaker, you have an electrolyte inside it, okay, which is an ionic compound. You also have your electrodes that allow current to either pass out or go in. And then you see the charges, how they are migrating. So these are processes that are involved in electrolysis. So if you ask to define electrolysis, okay, you're going to bear in mind that electrolysis is a chemical process, okay, which involves the what? The breakdown of ionic. It must be ionic compound, okay, by passing what? Electricity. Okay, electrolysis is a chemical process which splits an ionic compound into its ions using what? Electricity. You must use electricity so that the reaction can proceed. That's why I say that it is a spontaneous reaction, a spontaneous process, basically. This is electrolysis, nothing more. A chemical process, because there are a lot of process that is involved there. Look at the process here. Okay, couple one or two electrodes. Okay, you have your ionic salts. Okay, you pass your electricity. Those ionic salts now split, or what we call decompose. Okay, they decompose, and there will be ease of movement or migration of these charges, these ions. Okay, so as the electron can flow in and out of the electrolyte. So as I say, it must be a process. If you are defining electrolysis without putting a process, I think we have missed it out there. It must be a chemical process. It's a chemical process, not a physical process, which involves the what? The breakdown of ionic compound into what? Ions by electricity, or by passing what? Electric what? Current. Of course, you should know that this could only happen when the ionic compound is in solution or in molten what? States. Okay, that's what we have here, electrolysis. Now, I want to give two cases here. This is an ionic compound. Okay, what you must know, maybe I'll still emphasize that, maybe when we'll be looking at terms used in electrolysis, I'll still lay more emphasis on that. This is an ionic compound. So it's the only ionic compound that can behave as electrolyte or can undergo process of electrolysis. Only this ionic compound. Ionic compound is a compound that has a positive and what? Negative. Some say that a compound containing a metal and a what? Non-metal. These are ionic compound. Okay, dear matter. Before now, there are two categories of matter. Let's go to this. I have a kind of background of the study. There are two categories of matter. What are the two categories of matter? What are the two categories of matter? We have what? We have chemical substance. We have chemical substance, and then what? Mixtures. That are the two categories of matter. Okay, so I can't say that electrolysis is the chemical process which splits matter, because electrolysis does not split mixtures. That is why urea is a mixture. Urea is a non electrolytes because it doesn't contain what? Ions. It can't split into ions during the electrolytic process. So you see this one is not included. So what we're going to be looking at is chemical substance. But I can't say that the electrolysis is a process of splitting a chemical substance because chemical substance have two categories. One is what? Elements. Okay. Then two is what? Compound. Are you with me? Are you following now? I can't define electrolysis as a breakdown of chemical substance because elements are not electrolytes. They are not electrolytes because elements are chemically what? Neutral. Example, metallic elements. Copper is not an electrolyte. Rather, copper is a conductor. Are you with me? Silver is not an electrolyte. Rather, silver is a what? Conductor. These are elements. So we can use this as some compound, okay, or chemical substance. So you can't define electrolysis as breakdown of chemical substance. You can also define electrolysis as breakdown of compound. It's very wrong because there are two categories of compound. One is what? Ionic compound, and the other one is what? Covalent compound. Covalent compounds, more like, are non or weak electrolytes. Are you there? So we now say that when you have an ionic compound that possesses positive and negative ions, like salts, all acids, and all bases are what? Electrolytes. Why? Because they are what? Ionic compound. So that's why that definition, you have to be specific. It is the breakdown of what? Ionic compound, not breakdown of compound, not breakdown of chemical substance, and not breakdown of what? Matter, because matter is all inclusive. Both mixtures, both homogeneous mixtures, heterogeneous mixtures are still there. But by the time you narrow it to chemical substance, still yet it's not still correct because there you're still going to have what? Elements and what? Compound. You still have to narrow the compound down, limit it to only what? Ionic compound. So that is on that definition. Are you with me now? So let me go back to the example now. This ionic compound. In this state, can it be an electrolyte in this state? It can't. Why? Because it's solid. I don't think that would be a brilliant answer to that. Because not molten. I don't think that will also be a brilliant answer there. You know, there are charges here. There are charges. This one is going to be forming positive by a loss of electron. This is going to form a negative by gain of electrons. So in this compound, there are positive and negative, okay, which are joined together. So the ions here in this structure, in this ionic compound, they appear not to be free mobile. Okay, they are not free mobile. They are held together by forces of attraction. So there is no ease of movement of these charges, okay, in the solid states. But when it is in molten, it's melted at a particular temperature. When water is added to it, okay, in hydrated form, this is going to what? Split. That is why the splitting is going to split. When it is in interaction with water, it is going to split. Now, in this state now, it's going to be what? Aqueous. That is when it is now reacting with water. The water is now going to split this into what? Ions. Into what? Ions. Not just ions, but free mobile ions or free mobile hydrated what? Ions. So that there can be ease of migration. Ease of migration. Whereby the positive ones migrate to the cathode. And the negative ones migrate to what? Anode. Are you with me? Okay, then look at the few etymology of electrolysis, just very few words to understand it, that to know that electrolysis actually is from these two Greek words, meaning electro. Electro, which simply means what? Electricity. Electricity. And then the last word, the lysis, is a Greek word. An English word, it means what? Splits. Okay? So it is just like literally meaning, or layman's understanding, is just splitting a compound or ionic compound using electricity. That is a simple, common knowledge of electrolysis. But for scientists, we don't define it. This was literally, you go to dictionary, that's how you're going to say, because this electrolysis is not an English word. If you go to English dictionary, you're not going to see electrolysis there. You can only see it in science dictionary because it's not an English word. So if you translate it, electro there is electricity, lysis there is what? Breakdown or splitting. So it is a process of splitting something by using what? Electrolysis. So that means if electricity is not involved, chemical substance are not splitted. So it means that the reaction there is what? Spontaneous. Or it is not feasible. But can only be feasible if the temperature is high by passing electricity. Okay,